Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the December 2020 safety training. We'll be covering excavations, we'll be covering contractor management, and also our environmental permits. So, on the excavation and trenching, as per required on all excavations, trenches greater than 4 feet deep need a way for people to get out, such as a ladder or other means like terracing. The ladder must be secured and extended at a minimum of 36 inches. That 36 inches is for anything. You can look at any scaffolding that's done out there. If the ladder doesn't go 36 inches out, it's not qualified. Spacing shall be that a worker will not have to travel more than 25 feet. And during rainstorms, personnel shall exit excavation. Why do we have all this? So a guy doesn't get trapped in there. Some notes. No employee should be permitted underneath loads or handling by lifting or digging equipment. No overhead loads. Employees shall not work in excavations in which there are accumulated water or excavations in which water is accumulating, unless there's adequate precautions that have been taken to protect the employees against the hazards posed by water accumulation, or posed by water accumulation. If we have residual water in there that we're sloshing in with our feet, that's fine, but if the water starts to accumulate, it's accumulating, it's rising, no. Temporary spoil should be placed no closer than 2 feet from the edge of the excavation. Can't put it next to it. See, it's the equivalent of pretty much making the excavation higher, and if that fill falls in, the spoil falls in, you know it'll happen. There's 3 different types of soil. We'll go about this. Main soil, there's kind of this clay soil, very strong, very sturdy. There's kind of this B, which is got organic matter in it, it's got some loose gravel, but it's still able to hold itself. And then there's C. And you'll notice in the previous 2, there was kind of a digging in the hill, and you can see this. When you get down to C, which is like gravel, sand, whatever, you can't necessarily trench in there. You have to shore it up a lot before you can do anything like that. The soil we have soil B at this plant. Some procedures. A competent person will be consulted. That's any one of us who studies this material. Soil classification, let's go with B. A competent person shall guide a groundbreaking permit and permit to work before the work begins. So we need to have a groundbreaking permit. There's also a daily inspection that goes on. Prior to starting the job, locate the underground utilities and our piping. If we need to contact anybody outside, then do so. Typically speaking, at this plant, we will not be encountering that. Sloping and shoring. If it's greater than 4 feet, we need that terracing. 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot. There's even been talk about a 2 foot, 2 foot. But essentially what you want to do as the person who's running that show, you need to go in there, look at that excavation that the people are going to be in, and ask yourself pretty much one question is, can they get out? Creative, but dangerous. Here's an example. Digging through sandy soil, you got to have all that shoring put up there. We do have to have some shoring put up in certain areas, but not every square inch like this. Inspections, the daily inspections done before the start of each shift. So in addition to the groundbreaking permitting, there's also the daily inspection permitting. As dictated by the work being done in the trench and after every rainstorm. So if there's a major change in what's being done in the excavation, we'll have to do another daily check. Or if there's been a rainstorm, we have to go back out there and look at it again. When fissures, tension cracks, sloughing, undercutting, water seepage, molding, any kind of these major issues that they say to you, this could compromise the trench we built. When there is a change in the size, location, or placement of the spoil pile adjacent to the structures, keep it 2 feet away. There's going to be these special situations where it's going to be a bear to get this done properly. And some contractors don't fully appreciate the 2 foot issue, and we have to remind them of that. Creative once again, but dangerous. Who's to say that rock isn't held in by its soul? Here's an example before and after. Before, they're putting pipe in. After, it's left off. If you look at this, there's no terracing of 2-foot terracing. There's no egress. Now, mind you, you would think, well, they're just using, excavation equipment, and they're not going to have anybody in there. But typically speaking, if you want to have somebody there to inspect and make sure the pipe's being laid down properly, and a person can wind up underneath that. Some more examples. More than 4 feet, it should be terraced. You see a collapse. See another one collapse. Don't ever do this. Here's the trenching excavation for a ground rigging permit. And then there's the checklist. There's 2 pieces to the puzzle here. All right. Move towards contractor safety. Contractor safety qualification. This is something some of you have been hearing about. When you have somebody coming in, we've got to get the documents lined up. The procedure describes the steps we've taken to ensure a safe working environment, specifically to make sure the contractors are doing a good job and that they're the right kind of people that we want at the plant. There are some contractors out there that we don't want at this plant. This document supplements any safe requirements stated in the contract documents. So we can have some documents stated in some of the procedures, some of the third party, but this supplements it. If they come in and be more safe than us, then we will allow them. Contractors to be considered shall provide a contractor safety data information sheet and the contractor safety health requirements. Contractor shall complete and return the contractor data information sheet to the site. That's probably the main thing I signed. But also, this sheet shall evaluate whether the contractor is qualified to come here on a safety basis. In addition, there are OSHA 300 records, the logs. In addition, there is an EMR. And the acronym is up here later, but EMR below a 1. It is NACE's intent to hire only those contractors who meet the following requirements. EMR, experience modification rate, equal to or lower than 1. OSHA recordable incident rate, less than the industry average. As you can see, we're looking for 3 years, so we are requiring their OSHA 300 logs. Required written safety programs in place. They don't have to have a safety program in place for each and every function of safety because they may not be involved in all functions of safety. In other words, we might have some scaffold people, they don't need to know hot work. Require competent persons available. A written explanation of fatalities that have occurred, so if there's any kind of issue, circumstances, whatever, that show them to exceed what we expect, they need to provide documentation for that. We may still, under special cases, approve certain people with extraneous data or bad data, safety data, but we'll have to review it and make a determination one by one. If they have an EMR less than 1, that's pretty much a slam dunk. Fill out the form, tell us what you do, that's good. Workers' compensation. Workers' compensation is meant twice. OSHA recordable incident, meet all the requirements. Okay, so here's alternate approval. If they don't meet this, and they meet these other requirements, they must submit a detailed job safety management plan, and the plan must be reviewed by us. So that's a good thing to add, is to make sure that they have a plan in place and they give it to us so we can look at it. Subcontractor information is to be posted in the NACE portal. The NACE portal is going away, but right now, as we speak, as I speak, it's still valid. It's not complete, and I'd say the lion's share of all the approval information we have to get ourselves. The documentation to include the contract information. Now, once again, in review, the attachment, that questionnaire sheet that comes from the city procedure. Documentation of the current year EMR, and typically what they'll do is give us 3 years worth. Proof of insurance, OSHA logs, previous 3 years. And any OSHA citations, any problems, any injuries, fatalities they had. Specifically, ones that resulted in citations. Designated NACE project coordinators required for all contractors. This is something that we do. The contractor is required to designate all on-site safety coordinators. Required to designate an on-site safety coordinator. This could be fulfilled by other roles like the manager. Once we get into a large number, like 25 people, we are required to have a specific dedicated safety professional. That seldom happens, but once in a while we're doing a major overhaul rather, or we have a lot of scaffold people from brace. They will bring in a safety person. It is the contractor's responsibility to notify the NACE project coordinator when the safety coordinator individual changes. So anytime they're making any kind of significant plan changes, let us know, or let us know one is managing the project. As the scope of a project, number of contractor employees increases, the need for a full-time on-site person increases. Now, a designated safety coordinator, this could be another person, but when you hit 25, you need to have a full-timer. And when you go to 50, you need to have an additional full-timer. And it says one additional for every 50. We will never get to 100, 150 people, I don't think. NACE is at its discretion may require additional site safety coordinator that it deems appropriate. For a time, we were bringing in additional safety inspectors or specialists to manage a site, or manage rather the outages that we had. We did that for a while. Contractors are to immediately notify the project coordinator whenever an accident occurs. Time frame, immediately. And a written report within 48 hours. Contractors are required to notify the project coordinator immediately of any OSHA complaints. Number one, if there is an OSHA complaint filed against one of our contractors on this site, that means OSHA is coming through here. It is our business. We need to be aware of this. Somebody comes to the gate and says, "Hey, I'm OSHA, let me in." How do we know you're OSHA? But they let us know that if there's been a complaint filed that OSHA is coming, then we know to expect them. Prior to commencement of work, the plant contractor, supervisors, and such will have a meeting to review the scope. The following items we discussed: contractor health and safety requirements, MSDS requirements, and any other applicable procedures. MSDS if they're bringing their own chemicals on site. All contractors must complete the site-specific contractor safety briefing before commencing work. It's done on a 12-month basis annually. All contractor work at the plant must have a valid safe work permit, clearly. The NACE project coordinator shall ensure that all contractor personnel have received a pre-job briefing. And the NACE project coordinator should periodically review the work to ensure the contractor is complying with all the job safety requirements. And at the very, very least, make trips by there, look at your guys that you've got under your supervision. Are they doing the right thing? Are they wearing their PPE? Are they in the right area? Do we have some kind of other people hanging around with them? What are they doing there? All plant employees have the responsibility and authority to stop unsafe contractor behavior or practices. And that goes for us, that also goes for the contractor. Contractors are required to keep records of the following activities: accident investigations, employee training, safety inspections, safety meetings. There's typically a morning toolbox, a lot of them do, a little JSA. Special permits are required to return to the NACE project coordinator, i.e. Excavation, scaffolding, a critical lift, confined space, hot work, and lockouts. This is something that we're very good at coordinating with all our contractors. And we have a lot of contractors that have been working here for a while, and they know to come to us, and they understand the procedures, and they follow it pretty, it speeds things up. So they follow it pretty well. All right. The next piece is our environmental permits. In 2020, I can tell you that we just got our NSR permit issued. The wastewater permit was issued last year, and the application for our Title V permit is currently under review at the TCEQ. The TPDS, they made one change to the permit. They lowered the dilution levels for biomonitoring. The dilution levels, basically, it's instead of having 6-7% of the water we use, it's more like 2-3%. It's actually more reasonable limits. It's actually improved in our favor, and part of that is that we keep passing our biomonitoring. Bottom right, you have to pass 4 successive quarters of testing to return to semi-annual testing on biomonitoring. Every time we get issued a permit, which is every 5 years, we have to do quarterly biomonitoring. After 4 quarters of passing, we can ask to go to semi-annual. Right now, earlier this last month, we went ahead and completed our last biomonitoring. Contingent upon passing that, we're going to move on to going to semi-annual, and I got to make that request early next year. Title V permit changes. The Title V has a requirement for semi-annual and annual certification reports. That's probably the bread and butter of what we do with respect to the Title V permit. I can say once again, the changes were generally administrative, nothing significant. Cooling tower area, that's one area of interest. There's a particulate limit on that, and what it is, it's related to 6,000 ppm by weight of total dissolved solids. And there is actually a TPDS measure in the cooling tower, and I've looked at it, it's gotten to about 3,000 at times. But due to the way we manage that cooling tower, once we get down around 3,000, we start blowing down. It says here 2,500. I've seen 3,000 at one point. The EMR will collect the records for this. The EMR is basically the automatic system. It collects that, and I have that data on an annual basis. I actually use it to help me fill out the emission inventory each year. The NOx, the CO limits, that's still the most important stuff in the permit. Specifically, for any kind of changes, minor engines on site were better accounted for, emergency fire pump engine, and the pump station diesel generator. Now, what's happened to the NSR permit is that we have taken this emergency pump diesel generator and we have moved it outside the permit. Why did we move it out of the permit? We moved it out of the permit and made it its own standalone piece because it's 5 miles away. And when inspectors come to inspect our plant, they're coming to inspect the site. What about this diesel generator? Well, that's over there, about 5-6 miles away. Taking it out of the permit makes the whole process easier. Hydrant and scavenger vents. Particulate matter, we have to do opacity checks on this. That is probably one of the most insignificant vents that we have at the plant, but they're covered in the permit. Some NSR changes. The startup and shutdown emissions were included, and specifically, what are the permit limits for CO and NOx during normal operation? The normal limit for CO is 32 pounds per hour. It goes to 62 pounds per hour for going with ducts. For NOx, normal operation, 64 pounds per hour. When you go into ducts, 88 pounds per hour. What are the permit limits for CO and NOx during startup and shutdown? The answer is very high. As a matter of fact, for CO, it is over 2,800 pounds per hour. These levels are accounted for in the permit. They're also the design levels that the turbines will kick into before 6Q. They're already accounted for in the permit. They're not reflected in the DAWs. They're reflected in the DAWs as a startup shutdown, special dispensation, but it is accounted for now in our permit. What does all this mean to you? Basically, all the things you're doing, the flow meters on down, everything plays a part in this, and everything you're doing with respect to that is important to complying with the permits. The plant has done a good job. And we will communicate any new needs for our permits as they come out. And when I bring something up, it's because we need to do it. Let us know if there's any environmental problem, if there's a problem going on, or if there's a problem with what we're enacting, saying this is not going to work. Explain it to us. Come to me, explain it to me. Of course, during a pandemic, this question and answer session is almost moot, but in any case, if you do have any questions about any of these three presentations, go ahead and let me know, or let the safety committee know. And with that, I thank you.